The following is a presentation of Project Independence and WCWP. Project Independence is the Aging in Place initiative of the town of North Hempstead.
Welcome to Project Independence and You.
Good morning and welcome to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio. I'm your host and producer, Kristina Liu, along with my co-host today, Otto Los and Paula Ewell. Paul and I work together at the Department of Services for the Aging, where she is the Deputy Commissioner and I'm the Director of Senior Citizen Affairs. Otto, I'm always trying to come up with a new adjective for you, each week. But Otto is friend, volunteer, PI ambassador, all around, the face of PI, I would say. So yes, good morning, Otto. And later on the show, we're going to dive into a little bit more with Otto because he will be turning. Can I say what you will be turning?
You can.
I don't want to, divulge any information. He'll be turning 89 next week.
It's amazing.
So we're going to, just get some words of wisdom from Otto that I certainly soak in before the weekend. Every Friday, I'm very lucky because I feel wiser,
right.
Otto. But this morning, we are joined by CHARI Biton, who is the Director of Community Relations, the Mobility Manager over at the Department of Services for the Aging. She's going to talk all things transportation, autumn safety tips. And thank you to CHARI because she filled in last minute. We had a cancellation and CHARI picked up that baton.
Right.
No pun intended.
Right.
I hope everyone got that. And you have a special role. So this is the first show of our 15th year.
Oh, wow.
So no pressure, CHARI.
Okay.
Let's take it up break. But CHARI, thank you so much for joining us. I know we have a lot to discuss. Transportation is humongous in Project Independence. CHARI's on the phone all day long, really just being the travel agent and talking people off the ledge a lot of times. Because it's stressful, all these things, driving, not driving, pedestrian safety. So CHARI covers all these things, car fit, which is Otto and I personally love. So CHARI, let's dive in. I know Otto wants to know a little bit about how did you land here into Project Independence?
Oh, well, thank you. And
Just like
for having me.
when you were.
Well, I will give you my life story quickly. I actually landed here. Well, I'm from Buffalo, New York originally, and I came down to New York for a job after college. I worked in that job managing marketing communications for about 15 years or so in the city. And after 9/11 and blackouts, really just wanted to be closer to home, started to look for careers, something meaningful to do closer. And I had a couple jobs that involved seniors. And of course, I had experience with my elderly relatives, which I found that I had, patience and I liked listening to that generation of older folks. It was just something I enjoyed. And then it came upon an opportunity to have a meaningful career in my town where I live. Mm-hmm. And heard of the program, Project Independence, when it was really new. Came on board 13 years ago, so I think the program was well underway. And I just filled in a role that I was just eager to be a part of the whole team. Mm-hmm. So I have kind of a double role. I go out and speak about the program as a whole, Project Independence, and I work on the taxi transportation program. And what does that mean? I help people to know about the program by going out and talking about it. I help to explain the program by speaking to people one-on-one, over the phone, in person. And I also help manage the process from, the point where we procure the taxi companies to the 311 process where somebody will call in and ask about services and find out, there's a program. Then they get me, they learn more about it. And then there's managing the day-to-day of the program. Things come up. Mm-hmm. Weather, traffic, occasionally, rarely, we get somebody who has a concern and a question, whether it's something small, like, am I going to ride alone in the car? People don't know what to expect. Yeah. How much is it going to cost? I know it costs this much when I go here. What is it going to cost if I go further? Or do you go to these destinations that are outside the town? How can I get there if you don't go there? What other services are out there? I'm going to be having knee replacement and I won't be able to get in a cab. I might need a wheelchair. So there's all kinds of things that come up along the way. And I love that Paula calls me a navigator. I help people to navigate
problems and situations.
How many, basically, as I try to tell people, this is a group of dedicated people. It's not an army. There's a handful of people that do everything. How many calls a day do you think, on average, you might field as far as transportation is concerned?
10.
And also, it's one of those things, we talked about last week, you don't know. So any given day, it could be Paul and I are referring SRs, and Shari will have the whole queue would be transportation related, so it's one of, and that's why you can never put it into specific, not because it's she might leave the show and there could be a whole bunch of SRs, waiting for her. So you just don't really know.
Right.
Just may get one that seems fairly, simple. Shari can handle it, but it comes way more complicated when Shari calls the person and then has a much better understanding of a lot of gaps in their care that we wouldn't know from calling for a taxi. And then Shari gets right, then we connect with nursing and social work. So Shari knows, she's listening very carefully, providing more information, but then connecting to the right services.
Now, all of your service, for transportation requests come in on the phone. There's no email, there's no website, there's no text.
Actually, they come in all.
Yeah, I was gonna say she comes in order. Yeah,
come in always. So the standard way, the right way, is somebody calls the town of North Hempstead's main line. It's 311 from your house or 869-6311 from a cell phone, or most homes should actually be using the full dial by now. And then we get what everybody's calling the call or the service request. A service request is anytime somebody, a constituent, makes a request of the town. We have a unique assigned number, and then the person gets a call back for their issue. And in this case, somebody could say, "Do you have transportation?" It could be just that, or my car's in the shop. What do you know if I need help, or can I just have somebody call me back? We get everything. We get a variety. So I get those calls assigned by the staff that takes a look at them. They tell me that, that through email, that it's just a coded number, no personal information. I look it up. It's only for me to see. I see what the person's concern was. I can also see, what town they live in. I call them back, and that's how I get most of the standard call-ins. But otherwise, people, once I've called them, they have my phone.
Yeah, they have our direct line.
Maybe it should be broadcast.
They call, they save my number, and then,
That's a
years later.
landline number.
No, her cell phone number.
Well,
Cell phone number.
there was a
But you give
time
out-
that
Yeah,
for COVID that I give my cell phone number.
No, now
because
it's
we're working from home, but they still have my number. I've asked, can you please call my regular number? Because I keep my phone off, so I might miss your call. So please call my office number now.
I mean, you're not a 24/7.
No. Yeah, I'm trying to get people.
Some people wish she was.
Right. But sometimes when somebody's really nervous, just say they're new.
Yeah.
And I call them, I give an orientation. Clearly, they have my phone number. It gives them reassurance to say, keep my number and call me if anything should come up. Because there's something when people are setting out to do something new, they're very nervous. Or maybe they didn't know what to do. They didn't know they had a call to go home. We missed the opportunity that they were new or something. And people have a question, well, how do I do that? And people would like to know. I try to tell them, take down 3 phone numbers: how to book a ride, the taxi's phone number to call to go home, and my phone number, just in case anything should come up, and of course the town.
Yeah.
So they like knowing. It makes people a little sense of peace. Maybe I shouldn't be giving my phone out, but that's okay.
Well, this is not like an Uber operation.
Right.
No.
No, and it goes back to what we touched upon last week. about the human contact, right? And getting into that. So like think about it like a senior, maybe you've been used to driving all these years and now you no longer drive. And we always say, I'm stressed out going to a medical appointment half the time. Like I don't want to drive and find parking, so there's so many different avenues, with transportation. And Shari is like, the person you get to like actually talk to,
And we can hear Shari talking.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Right.
It's wonderful. No, I love to listen to Shari. Like she's very calm and very sweet on the
Pretty
phone.
much what you do all day.
I listen to Shari all day.
Up here and it's time.
Like Kristina, I sit there and listen.
No, but I think it's such an important thing, and that's another testament to the success of the program is because you're not just, especially when it comes to the transportation where, you're mentioning Uber, these things on the phone, you're not talking to someone. And if you want to talk to someone, it's like impossible to get in touch with someone. So I think, Shari, being that navigator, travel, agent of the town, it's just such a blessing. And
maybe just a quick regroup then. When is Project Independence transportation available to me?
That's what
can I use it?
Yeah, exactly.
So let me explain the program and take
basically
it from the
what,
top.
What is it?
So
what can I use it for?
Okay, so I'll start with that.
Right.
So the transportation is for medical appointments and food shopping. So let's start with medical. Medical includes dental, eye doctor, optical pickup, right? Or if somebody needs to go get their hearing aid batteries, that's all medical, as well as physical therapy or therapists, talking therapy, chiropractic, acupuncture. And of course, your standard medical appointments. So for a medical appointment, one would expect to pay $5 each way if it's nearer to their home. And then the limit is $10 each way. So it's either $5 each way or 10 to go to the limits of the.
I'm sorry, does the provider have to be within North Hempstead?
The provider of the transportation?
Like you go to the doctor.
Yeah.
In other words, where am I going?
Correct. The boundary is the town of North Hempstead, which includes Great Neck, New Hyde Park, Manhasset, Plandome, Port Washington, Searingtown, Albertson, Mineola, Westbury, north of Old Country Road, Roslyn, and all places in between.
Yeah.
However, we go to a few very important locations that are beyond the town line because those are unique and maybe they can't be found what they have to offer. We want to make sure our residents have these options. For example, there's Memorial Sloan Kettering has a satellite office in a patient office in Uniondale. That's outside the town, but we go there. It's called MSK, Nassau. We do go to the St. Francis de Matta Center, which is about a mile outside the town, right across the street from where we're broadcasting from. We do go, and because they have such unique therapy for heart and lung, and we go to the campus of NYIT. They have a specialty center for Parkinson's. So all you have to do is call the town and ask. We do go to all of the doctors in Garden City. Garden City is not North Hempstead.
Right.
It's Hempstead. But we go there because there are so many providers right
goes from the town to Hempstead.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, these are all medical, no social calls.
No.
Right. Okay.
No, only medical and food shopping. So medical is discounted. So the rider pays a portion of the cost, and the town pays the balance. We get billed monthly, and they take the total negotiated amount minus the amount the rider paid. The rest is tallied up. The town pays the balance. So we are funded by the town of North Hempstead taxpayers, as well as the town is compensated by federal funds, which are administered through New York State. Just continuing on what other types. There is food shopping. And what's great about food shopping, it's free. It's a free opportunity to get out. So all of these programs, we operate Monday through Friday. There is no limit on medical. If somebody had to go to dialysis and it happened to be early morning appointment, that's fine. As long as they, we talk to the person and we tell them we're not open to help you.
Right.
In the morning, and all the bookings have to be done ahead of time. There's no same day service. So we ask that someone call a few days ahead, we cut off by 4 o'clock the night before. And then, so, it's Monday through Friday for a medical ride. And food shopping, we limit to twice a week, but the person can choose the day.
Yeah, just back to the medical for a minute. If I need a wheelchair,
a walker,
I need somebody with me,
right,
to be my translator, if you will, when I'm in the doctor's office,
right,
family, friend, caregiver, aid. What's the ground rules?
Okay, so anyone that rides along with the senior goes for free. So there's no additional cost. However, if there's a third person, they could expect there might be a $2 surcharge from the taxi provider. So what they would do is your ride would be, $5 each way, and then add $2 each way for the additional rider. Sometimes people aren't charged for that, but somebody could expect that. If somebody has a walker, as long as it's foldable and can go into a trunk, it's fine. If a person rides alone, then they would sit down in the vehicle and the driver would help fold the walker and put it into the trunk and then take it out and set it up for somebody. So the person who's riding would need to be able to get into a standard sedan. They would need to be able to turn and sit down in the seat and their legs go in and everything else. If they have difficulty, then we talk. They might be referred to me if they're not able to transfer into a car. Then the questions are, do you have somebody who could ride along with you and possibly assist? If somebody's unable to transfer in and out of a car, then they might be referred to accessible transportation, which exists. And there's some other options out there.
And we are going to take a break.
Okay.
You're done with our first segment. After the break, we will continue talking with CHARI BITON, Director of Community Relations, Mobility Manager over at the Town of North Hempstead, Department of Services for the Aging. You're listening to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio. So I get this call from my grandma, and she's like,
"What's a podcast, and how much does it cost?"
So I tell her, podcasts are like radio shows, but you can download them on any device and listen to them anywhere at any time, and they're free. And then she says,
"I see, but where can you find good ones?"
And I'm like, go to wcwp.org/podcast and check out the lineup of original shows, or download any podcast app on your phone or tablet and search for LIU Studios. And she's all like,
"Oh, that sounds easy."
And then she asked me what an app is.
LIU Studios podcasts, available on any podcast app. Those little button things on your phone screen. Just ask your grandkids.
Welcome back to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio. I'm your host, Kristina Liu, along with my co-host, Paula Yule and Otto Loos. We're jumping right back in with CHARI BITON, Director of Community Relations, Mobility Manager over at Project Independence, Department of Services for the Aging. We're talking all things PI transportation and autumn safety tips and driving, and we're going to cover all different kinds of bases, CHARI, and so much wonderful information, because I think everyone's familiar with the Project Independence transportation program, but I feel, even myself, so when you,
always,
and you like listen, like there's little things that are involved, and I think it's important to realize that you might not know certain locations that are available to you, and I just think it's such a pleasure to have you on to go.
But when you say everybody's familiar, people have a knack for, if I don't need it to know about it, I hear about it, but I don't really care because I don't really need it. But all of a sudden,
you do need
I need it. Then I'm going to find
that's always I find very interesting
very
about
common.
the program is that I still could be a driver, right? But there's a lot of times that you're going to an eye doctor or something, and you're getting dilated, whatever it might be, and you can't drive, so now here's a wonderful opportunity for you to do it. So I just think it's always good to kind of be aware of your
when we
options.
left off, you were talking a wheelchair, right? All of a sudden you need a wheelchair.
Right.
That will not go under the standard Project Independence transportation program.
Correct.
So where might you guide people in that kind of situation?
Okay, so there's a couple options. There is a program through Nassau County and the bus system called NICE. The NICE bus system. There is an accessible transportation system called Able Ride. In fact, throughout the country, every county has their own accessible transportation, because if they are funded by the government for a bus system, they must offer a handicap solution, accessible solution. In Nassau County, it's called Able Ride. In Suffolk County, it's called SCAT, Suffolk County Accessible Transportation. New York City, it's called Accessoride.
Yeah.
Once you're approved for one of those programs, so you get approved in the area you live, and then there's a reciprocal arrangement in every other. So if you just happen to go to Florida, you could call their system up and say, you call up your own system and say, release my information to Broward County, or to wherever you go. So you'll be able to use it. So this is one of the things that I do. After, there are some people that maybe suddenly are not able to drive, or they come to me at a point, or I meet them at a point where they are not driving, or there's a situation that they've been dealing with for a while. And then I help them with the process for Able Ride. There's some other options, but I'm going to tell you about this one first. So there is an application involved. So I want to say that the town's taxi program has no application. You call the town,
Right.
and the next day you're riding. Okay. But Able Ride requires an application. It's a very costly program to run. It's a valuable service. They don't give it to just anyone. They will give it to somebody that's truly in need. So there's a process. And yes, you need to have it signed by a doctor. There is a section where you describe in your own words why it's difficult for you, in your own words, to ride a fixed route bus system. And I help people to understand how it's explained so that they can interpret that from their own either physical, cognitive, vision, hearing, whatever their issues are, how that translates into being difficult to ride a bus system. Able Ride, if you're approved, will send either a handicap accessible, wheelchair lift scenario, or they even will send a taxi if somebody is able to get in and out of a taxi. Somebody with vision issues, they don't need the lift. So what's great about Able Ride is once approved, it's $4 each way. Just $4 each way. A wider area than where we go, it's Nassau County. However, they do have their kind of blackout areas. They call it a donut hole. There are areas they don't serve because they don't have to. It's not in proximity to a bus system. So they don't service Sands Point or Port Washington North, very north residents. They do not service the beaches like Long Beach, even though these are Nassau County residents. Where there isn't a bus, they don't have to provide the service. So I don't know if you have any questions about
Right, you could go anywhere.
You could go for any reason.
Any reason.
Thank
That's
you.
what I meant.
Right. So the town,
Could take it to the movies.
right.
Able Ride.
Exactly. Great reason to use Able Ride. So while the town has this great taxi program for medical appointments and food shopping, Able Ride would be for any reason. Now, I'm not sure if they're running, late on a Sunday night, so you have to check with Able Ride. But, if somebody wanted to use the service for social reasons, they wanted to go to House of Worship.
Take you to the Met game.
I'm not sure about that because that's in Queens. So we have to talk about how to connect. So you give me the tricky questions.
Problem is when you get to the Met game.
Right.
Exactly.
Now what?
Yes.
Is it means tested by any? Do you?
No.
No.
So means tested
Just the
is their
residents?
income, no. Both the town program, you just need to be 60 and live in the town. Able Ride, you just need to qualify by having a eligible disability of some sort. And that's how you get approved. It has nothing to do with your income. There is
the handicap sticker kind of thing.
it is sort of that, yes, but it's not it's a different process. The handicap sticker is through a Nassau County office. It's a different process. Able Ride is completely separate from that.
Right, but the end goal, it sounds like you have to go through kind of, the doctor has to approve it.
Right.
And
Well, it could be anyone licensed.
I think
It's not as
social worker and nurse. Probably can do it.
the Able Ride form says a licensed professional needs to sign,
okay.
Yeah. And
which is great.
Yeah.
It could be It could be a lawyer,
Right.
anyone licensed.
No, sure. How long does it take? Like, so, like, can someone expect if they're filling out an able ride for the approval? Like, how long, because obviously with PI, you could ride the next day.
Right.
But, with able ride, is it like a week? How long is it usually?
It's a month.
Oh, a month.
Well,
They are allowed by law to take 4 weeks. So with weekends and everything, it's a month. So what I tell people, I'm sending you an application, please.
Yeah, do it.
Start it right away. Don't let it sit, because then I get a call in 3 months. Can you take me to, XYZ? And I say, no, but what about that able ride application? They say, oh, yeah, it's sitting here. So you really need to get on it, because the sooner you get it done and get you'll need a little picture taken, like passport style picture, because they'll use that for the ID card. As soon as you have the whole kit and caboodle together, send it right away. Save a copy, and then you get the results in the mail.
Right.
And very often, by speaking to somebody, I kind of can tell if somebody's going to be approved.
Yeah.
And usually the people that go through the process are people who really need it.
And the social workers and the nurses can do the application with you.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, frankly, my mother, I'm talking about 25 years ago. It must have been Able Ride. I do not remember the name of it. She was going to Parker for a daily, like a daycare thing, where they would dance, with the wheelchairs and stuff. And they did pick her up every day.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the details from
Even have their own system too over at Parker. Some facilities provide transportation for adult daycare.
Oh.
I think Parker might be one of them.
Oh.
So it is possible, but
again, I'm saying 25 years ago, so I really don't.
And now is it a one-shot approval deal? Like, do you have to renew it, or how, is it like once you're approved, you're approved?
If somebody has a chronic condition and where it's known that this condition, there's only a decline, and maybe age and the condition, they have it. But there are people who are approved for only a couple years.
Okay.
So for a period of time. And that would be somebody who's maybe recovering from hip replacement or knee surgery. They might ask for another application to, address the claim that they're unable to ride a fixed route bus. So that is a good question. Some people do need to renew. And if you don't use it, it lapses. You have to. So I tell people, use it once, go to the store, go shopping.
How do they know that you use it? Does it go like to a central system?
I am not privy to that system, but I would suppose it does.
Yeah.
Because what they do is they have IT people as well, and they look at people who are not active, and they, if you were only approved for 2 years, you haven't used it in 2 years, it lapses. If you're using it, maybe you get a letter.
And I'm sure Shari gets these phone calls.
Right.
I know I've heard, like the word lapse, in her conversations. But, what we're talking about here, and this is what I just want everyone listening, these are things that you could directly speak with Shari about. And that's what's just so special, because everyone's got an individual circumstance, and you might be confused. It sounds complicated, but, you can call Shari and look, she could just rattle these things off to you, which I just think it's such a service. It really is such a wonderful service.
An area that I hear in my age bracket from people, or maybe not from, but about, I hear things going on, is all of a sudden, I shouldn't really be driving a car, but I'm not giving up my car because I want my independence. I want to be able to go to the doctor, even though I shouldn't be. How about that world?
Well, first of all, if somebody is telling you you shouldn't be driving anymore, were they sitting in the car with you while you were not looking for cars coming and turned anyway? Like what, if somebody is telling you, was there a dent on the car and the person said, I don't know how it got there, or, did something happen? So people around you will raise concerns, but they cannot take your ability to drive away from you. The only person, I believe, that can take that away is a judge. However, if things have changed, address the changes. Be hyper vigilant about preparing oneself to be safe. Prepare the car before, you wouldn't forget to put gas in the car, right? So you got to prepare the car for the winter. You got to have your windows need to be clean. You need to be aware that you have to have your sunglasses in the car. You know, be vigilant at all the things. Stay on top of this very important skill. That it's something important to be aware of. You know, if you notice lower body strength or feet numbness and tingling, well, that might be difficult to firmly brake or to, you know, if you notice you're feeling different after taking a certain medication, you're either tired or, you know, you notice less inhibition, you know, you know you shouldn't be driving that day. But a person who recognizes that something's changed is a safer driver because they'll do something about it. The hearing, I'll leave my hearing aid at home. Well, you can't hear and sense noises around you that are cues to keep yourself safer. I'm not going to go now. I hear a car coming. I see a pedestrian. So as long as one is taking steps to shore up, to hold on to the skills they have, to improve upon their vision, their hearing, their strength. This is somebody who could still be driving. Yeah. You know, and sometimes people don't stop driving until something's happened. I've heard lots of stories. I hit the garage when I was going in. I mean, garages are narrow. Okay, but you know, what happened? Did you mistake the brake for the
Right.
You know, or I was out driving and I had difficulty finding my way home. That's a little scary also.
Yeah.
Accidents. Unfortunately, someone told me yesterday their car was totaled, so they want to try out the taxi service. You know, I didn't ask. It's something they're not to get to.
Right.
But things happen. They're not even your fault, but they make you nervous. Often, like you say, the adult children or family and friends say, we don't think you should be driving anymore. You know, well, there's some other things you could do, like CarFit, programmed through AAA. You can position yourself better in the car, make raise your seat up, adjust your mirrors, you know, do everything
different adaptations.
possible. Right. Do everything possible with your car, with yourself in your car, with your own health to save this ability to
So that you're starting it from the first level, which is to try to save the fact that, yes, you
You
can.
can always jump to
Don't
throwing
jump
out the
to,
keys, right?
No.
Yeah.
It's we're not
okay,
looking
so
for new taxi rides.
I also think
I mean, I could visualize also, you can drive to King Cullen.
right, like shortage, right.
You know, you can do those things, you know, but you're not going to go to Coles out on Jericho Turnpike.
No, and I also think it's like a realistic
clip.
Yeah.
If they have the problem, you know, I can't drive after 5. I can, but I'm saying people say I can't drive
it's harder
after
to drive.
5 o'clock.
Right.
I can't go on the highway. I can't go on Jericho Turnpike.
Right.
You know,
It's not only the volume of drivers, but it's the sun glare, the speed blinding, the speed and the rushing of other people. It can be nerve-wracking. So, staying closer to home, giving up driving at night. Like Kristina had said, if you have something important going on medically, try taking a taxi, whether it's our program, private taxi, Uber. Just get yourself there safely and get home safely. You know, making decisions about when to use your car and when to try something else is important.
Yeah, and I think it's like it goes into us. What we always are preaching on the show is preparedness, and this is certainly just another thing they have to do and I think it's like an important message is that it's not immediately like I'm driving one day and then like nope, that's it, like take the keys away, you're like done. And I think what you're saying is try it. Obviously, this is not a one size fits all. Everyone's got different medical things, but if you're able to kind of have certain adaptations, there's little things you could add to your. I mean, Shari goes over all this in a CarFit thing. There's things to add to your mirror, or there's other devices. We know as we age, you kind of shrink down. And I think that there are so many things out now that you could have in your car to make you feel safer. And I think that when you're gradually kind of weaning things too, so it's not just like a shock to the system. Like I'm no longer
there's
driving.
another thing about going to the doctor, right? if you think about it, a lot of people shouldn't really be going to the doctor alone.
Right.
First of all, right? Why? Because maybe they are not prepared to ask the doctor questions. They don't retain what the doctor told them, and so on. So another alternative, frankly, is if you have a family or a friend who can also be your spokesperson, as long as with being your chauffeur, that's a good approach. And I think what that requires is you to say, yeah, I need help going to the doctor.
Well, and on that note, Otto, we are taking a break. After the break, we will continue talking with CHARI BITON, Director of Community Relations, Mobility Manager at Project Independence. You're listening to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio.
Take WCWP with you wherever you go with the WCWP app. Listen live 24/7 to all of our streams, all from one app. Plus, call the studios directly from the app and visit our social media. Download the app through the iOS App Store on Apple devices or the Google Play Store on Android by searching WCWP Radio, or visit WCWP.org for links. The WCWP app, available now on iOS and Android devices.
Welcome back to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio. I'm your host, Kristina Liu, along with my co-host, Paula Ewell and Otto Lowe's, and we're talking all things transportation with CHARI BITON, Director of Community Relations, Mobility Manager at the Department of Services for the Aging, Project Independence. We are jumping all over the place, CHARI, and thank you for rolling with us on our, just random trains of thought. But what I just want to touch upon before we dive into some things we were talking in the break, we did a lot about medical transportation, and of course, food shopping is twice a week, free. But I just wanted you to mention the locations, that there's other places you could kind of pop into in these centers. How does that?
Absolutely. So what's great about food shopping, it's free to go to the stores. However, it's a free opportunity to get out. We take folks to food shopping plazas. So, for example, there could be a hardware store. There could be a pet store. There could be a hair salon, a pizzeria to have lunch. So you take advantage of, what this is great offering. If you live in the town and you're a senior, you can have a free taxi to go out and make sure that your nutritional needs are met, as well as get some other things done.
This is a solo taxi. It's not a group taxi.
There might be
There might be somebody else in the car. They're allowed to combine rides. Very often, one is alone in the car.
What is the period of time, CHARI, that they have? How long do they have to actually do their shopping or other
Great question.
activities?
Do I have to eat the pizza in 20 minutes?
So what we say is that food shopping operates between 10 o'clock and 2, but you could choose what time. So, for example, you could call the cab for 11:15, and when you're ready to go home, you call the taxi. You say, I'm with Project Independence. You tell them where you are, and that might be 1:30. It just might be, so it's not that we say between 10 and 2. That doesn't mean they pick everybody up at 10 and 2. No. It's between then.
That's important.
Yes, you can choose the pickup time.
Yeah.
And choose what time to go home by calling when you're ready to go home. I tell people, don't pick 10. Everybody picks 10.
Right.
And it's still coming off of rush hour. So you wanna pick an oddball time, 10:20, anything that's not 10 o'clock. But yeah, so.
Okay.
So they have the ability to choose how long they want to be. It's not like you have to be at a bus stop an hour later and to get picked up. It's you have your.
No, and I think it's so important because obviously the transportation program has been around for many years now. But, these food shopping destinations, what I love about it was such a collaborative thing about, the seniors.
Right.
Where do you tend to go? And CHARI's always getting, new recommendations like, oh, this new center open, this new store, we like this. And it's based upon how many people will use it, so the point is you want people to utilize the program. CHARI's always, clocking what is being utilized and, the different locations and what's around. So I think that's such a special thing about the program because we do have these tight guidelines of it being food shopping and medical. But, now that it's in a center, it kind of opens your world. I mean, listen, I could spend a long time in a shopping center. I mean, let me loose in a shopping center. You give me a couple of stores that I like, forget it.
Could we go back a notch? Before we talked about, the first step is saving the skill of driving, doing whatever you can do. And then we, during the break, brought up the idea that if people are cognitively alert, they'll know what their physical issues are. But if a person has cognitive issues, they're thinking the way their mind is working, and they may not get the idea that cognitively they're not able to drive, or it should be very limited. How do how do you ever get involved with that?
Sometimes I get involved when it's too late, like the person already has had a difficulty. But if I happen to encounter somebody that says, I've noticed, I'm starting to think about, other options. I still drive, but I would like to try the program out just in case. It could be they're recognizing something is changing, which is a great sign. Look, I had a big birthday this year. We're all a little bit changes, a little more fatigue, a little more. I think what you're saying is for somebody who didn't recognize, what can I say to them? I think there has to be some recognition.
You're the adult child.
Right.
And
your parents,
family, friends, someone's telling you, like you said earlier, what if everyone's telling you to stop driving? Maybe they know something about you.
Yeah, but I, as the the person with the cognitive problem, may not accept what you're telling me because, as far as I'm concerned,
so there is a special
mechanism is.
I know where you're getting at. There is a specific helpful conversation that someone can have that's a very loving, caring way to address these very sensitive things. I mean, if the person is well enough cognitively to acknowledge that there's somebody's coming to them with concern and love. So it's recommended, I may not get the words right exactly, but just say a daughter is concerned about her mother's driving. She's seen it. She blew through a stop sign, or she stopped short too late, or she, whatever, they didn't see a pedestrian. You're scared. So rather than go, Mom, you're not driving. That's it. Take away the keys. Now we're hiding that. Who are you? And then strife. How about a sit down at a different time when things are calm and say, Mom, only out of deep concern and because I love you so much and I'm concerned about your health and well-being, would you consider trying this program? Or maybe we'll find somebody who can help drive you places, because you wouldn't want something to happen to someone else. And what if it was me? What would you tell me if I had an impairment of some sort? So there is a publication put out by an insurance company. If you call the town of North Hempstead's main line, I could get a reprint. And it's a helpful conversation.
They give you some scripts.
Some sample dialogues, how to talk to senior driver.
Is that the name of it?
I think you have maybe.
This one here?
Let's see, what is it called? Are you concerned about an older driver? And it's a guide to drivers and caregivers.
If you're watching us on YouTube or North Hempstead TV, you'll see.
It is a very detailed.
That one is put out by New York State.
Yeah.
However, there is another one put out
for the age.
By an insurance company. I don't want to give the insurance company plug. That's okay. You can Google all of this.
And CHARI will
or call me and I will help get a reprint.
No, because it's certainly a very sensitive topic. And, working in Project Independence for so many years, you've heard this come up, and it's, people are frustrated, on both sides, and I remember dealing with my grandpa. That was like, he couldn't turn his neck, and I was like, you literally can't turn your neck, what are you doing?
Did he give up eventually?
But he kept the car in the driveway. So it was like stages. Right. So it was keep the car. So we're like, okay, as long as you're not buying the car, we'll let this car hang out in the driveway for as long as you want, because still holding on. So, and I get that, and we had to respect that, because to him, that still was holding on to something, having it.
So I think in some cases, holding on to the car if people have a
Makes it
financial
fair.
difficulty.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of
You're
course.
paying
Yeah.
for car insurance.
Absolutely.
And everything else that
Right.
goes along with it.
Right. And sometimes like a grandchild
so you
maybe
could save
able
a
to use
couple
the
thousand
car or
bucks.
someone. So that's a little incentive too, that it'll go to someone you love who also needs a car.
That's true. Gifting
someone
the car.
else gifting the
That
car.
probably has low miles to one
Yeah.
of the
Need
grandkids.
the money.
Or and both.
Oh,
Yeah.
car.
Yeah. Thousands of dollars you could save
Yeah.
every year.
I just wanted to add, sometimes I encounter, there are people that watch their purse very closely and say, even the $10 rides are a lot. $10 each way, and even the $4, to which I say, well, did you have a car recently? Did you have a if you think about it this way, you had a car payment, you had insurance, you had to put new tires now and then. Upkeep is probably $1,000 a year on a car anyway. Gas, all these costs. If you think of that monthly outlay instead as your fund for transportation, the town's program will help for certain things. Able Ride will help some people to defray costs as well. But once in a while, you're going to have to pay for a regular cab to go, I don't know, to the movies, to dinner. You should live life. And if you think about it that way, if it was in your budget before for transportation, car payment, insurance, gas, upkeep, if you could think about it, maybe that was $400, $500. Even if the car was paid off, it's a lot of money. Think about that as your fund to get around.
Well, I think you're way ahead of the game without a car, frankly. I mean, but I'm not going to give up a car either, not that easily. How do you pay for this now? You said $4, $10, $5. Is it cash, credit card?
That's a good question. The program was founded when cash only. There was a discomfort with seniors handing a credit card to the front seat. We work with trusted partners. Nothing's ever happened in the 13 years that I've been there. But the program has just stayed that way. So we say it's cash only and tipping is appreciated.
Cash only.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure if Able Ride, you can buy a multi-pass or how that works. They could ask Able Ride. And there is another option out there. We were talking about accessible transportation for those who are eligible for Medicaid. So that is income-based. And you could talk to one of our staff to find out if one might be eligible for Medicaid. There is a transportation service that is no cost at all to go by Ambulette, which is, non-emergency ambulance. They also dispatch taxis, but it's for medical rides only. Not food shopping, not social.
If you happen to be fortunate and you can handle things like Uber, it's such a convenience. I mean, we use it to go to, if you're going to go out and you don't want to worry about the car, or if you're going to go to the airport or whatever, it's an unbelievable technology. You see where the car is. Amazing. In our world, the car is there in a couple of minutes. There's a lot of options.
No, and that's what, it's so funny. I literally just wrote on my paper, there are options. Because, and I think that that's the important message, and to talk to Chari, because I feel like so many times, especially when you're hitting this point of I can't drive, it creates such anxiety and stress, and you just don't, but I think it's just, so there are so many options, and you just got to kind of find what is the option for you, as Chari was saying, to live your life, you should still continue to do these things. It's just, it might look a little different, and I just think it's so important to be able to kind of talk all these options through, because look at it, we've hit so many different types in just the short amount of time that we've been on the show. So it's just
and we provide to younger people who are disabled. You want to explain that?
A couple years back, we expanded the taxi program for Project Independence to include those who have a disability who are 21 and up. So the process is the same. You call the town, you mention you're a younger person who needs transportation. They would get referred to me. We would have a conversation, and I would approve the person, tell them all about how the program works, the phone numbers to call and all that. Yeah, so as long as they can ride in a regular car. And then, of course, if they're unable to, we would talk about the other options as well.
Well, you're doing a good job.
There you go.
Yeah.
And if Otto says that, that's it. You could
You're
rest
in,
easy
Shari.
tonight.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think people realize, and I've said this 100 times on this show, Project Independence is not like 100 people. There's like a handful of people, and they do a tremendous amount of work in very short order. And it's every day. It's not like you have a Thanksgiving peak.
No,
It's true.
It's
for sure.
all the time.
Yeah, right.
It's different. It's like the
all
whole
the
world
time.
varies from season to season.
Well, that's a perfect segue because if you're listening to us live, it doesn't super feel like autumn outside right now. But we are approaching, the autumn weather and winter and just seasonal changes. So on the show, Shari, we always love our golden nuggets to walk away.
Golden.
So what are some good golden nuggets of safety, whether you're walking or you're driving in autumn?
So, well, first of all, the main thing we noticed, it gets dark earlier. So plan ahead. The change in the timetable really affects us.
Yeah.
And if you were a person who wasn't going to drive at night, you're going to be caught short if you headed out at 3:30 and all of a sudden it's 5:30. And it's dark. So anticipate that, plan accordingly, and dress to be seen, because whether you're driving or walking,
dress to be
the
seen.
minute you get out of your car at whatever your friend's house and you're crossing the street, or you're going to mail a letter, or you're going shopping and walking about in the parking lot, you need to be seen in the dark. And how do we do that? You make sure you're wearing something that's white or reflective stripes, anything that will reflect light. You can actually buy a stripe material and it shows up just like the stop signs light up at night. When light hits it, you can see it. It's like a 3M reflective sticker you can put on your clothes, on your sneakers, or you just buy clothes that have reflective piping. And what's great about stripes on your clothes, you can see, you almost look like a stick man in the dark.
So it's fun.
Yeah. And you look great in the dark. But also sneakers nowadays are reflective.
Yeah.
There's something about it. You can't tell when you're buying it. It looks clear, or the base has a little shine to it. But at night, it lights up. It reflects light back. So, and then, of course, when you're driving, you want to look out for pedestrians. So rather than just drive, you need to be really scanning right, left, back, look around, because you may not see a pedestrian, and that could be you on the other side, So there's a lot you have to be very alert when you're driving.
Mindful, that's
and when
right.
you're walking.
Another thing we have to add to our mindful list.
Right.
Right. Comes up every week.
Right. And, can I just add one more thing about this? It's also hurricane season still. And we have some hurricanes. I think there's 1 + 2 coming right behind it, coming up the coast.
The coast.
Right. So storms are forecasted.
Yeah.
Plan ahead. If they're saying, I'm making this up, that's coming Wednesday.
Yeah. Don't.
Well, stock
Like
up,
the
charge
Martian
your
thing.
phone, fill your car with gas. I know I say gas funny from upstate. And you also get your bagels in advance and freeze them. Pick up your
That's
prescription.
the important thing. Stock up.
Reason, if there's a storm or snow coming in a few months, there's no reason to go out on the day of the storm.
Right.
And
We get
it's
those
like
calls.
a challenge.
Get those calls every time. The
Right.
day of.
Well, you guys, I cannot believe it, but we have ran out of time. But to talk to Shari, please call 311 or 516-869-6311. As you see here, you can go over so many different things in your personal situation. So I would like to thank Shari Biton, Director of Community Relations, Mobility Manager, all things transportation go-to in our department. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you,
I'd like to thank everyone that listened. You're listening to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio.